기자부대, hop on the beat!
Welcome back to another JoJo chapter review. This time we'll be taking a look at the 4th chapter of Crazy Diamond's Demonic Heartbreak, the prequel to Part 4 starring Josuke and Hol Horse. Last chapter showed our main trio of characters fully meeting and interacting for the first time. Then we got to have another glimpse at the parrot's ability. This chapter continues immediately from the last, with Hol Horse under the influence of the parrot's ability, causing him to reenact the scene where he attempts to shoot Dio by pointing Emperor at the police inspector. Hol Horse's narration gives us a better idea of how the ability works. The stand causes someone to hear a voice from the past, and when someone hears that voice, they will act out whatever was happening at that moment. However, as we see here, the events won't always go the exact same way. In the original version of the scene, Hol Horse was so scared by what Dio told him he couldn't pull the trigger. However, if that doesn't happen, then Hol Horse would end up pulling the trigger like normal. As soon as he's about to shoot, the traffic light outside turns green and reflects on the inspector's cufflinks. This causes Hol Horse to remember a memory from his past. We see a flashback of Hol Horse and Boingo running through the streets of Egypt during the final battle of Part 3, and seeing Kakuin's final emerald splash in the sky above. Remembering this causes him to snap out of the stand's influence and then run away without being spotted. So it seems that focusing on a different memory can cause you to avoid the stand ability. Hol Horse starts thinking to himself and brings up that the parrot's ability didn't cause any trouble for the 10 years after Dio's death, but now is suddenly wreaking havoc. So he concludes that someone must have stolen the bird to use its power. Hol Horse hears a voice and turns around to find a group of female pastry chefs walking out of their store with knives, and one of them stabs a woman. We see that they are possessed by the stand, and Hol Horse says that they're reliving the actions of the women who gave themselves to Dio. We also see that the stand is capable of possessing more than one person. Since these are women, Hol Horse finds himself unable to shoot them and tries to think of another way of stopping them. Then we see a shadowy figure with the parrot watching Hol Horse from an alleyway. We finally learn that the name of the parrot is Pet Sounds, a name similar to Pet Shop, the bird that the parrot was trained alongside. The name is a reference to the Beach Boys album of the same name. The figure then alludes to more that the parrot can do, and the chapter ends. Overall, this was a very good chapter, probably the best one since the first. I liked that it focused almost entirely on Hol Horse, which is why I enjoyed the first chapter so much. His perspective on things post-Stardust Crusaders is one of my favorite things about this series. I also loved the scene of Hol Horse and Boingo witnessing the Emerald Splash. The most important thing to happen in this chapter is the development of Pet Sound's ability, and the introduction of the unknown man that stole him. It's exciting to see that we might have a real antagonist at work in this story. It's also a relief to see something like this, since every new thing they introduce makes the story go on just that little bit longer. And I definitely want this to be as fleshed out of a story as possible rather than a really short one. The identity of this character is definitely the biggest mystery so far, so let's go over everything we know about him. First, he's probably a stand user since he's pretty much aware of their abilities. He's also a character who knew Dio in the past in order to have learned about Pet Sounds. Based on his dialogue, it seems that he may be from Morio and just discovering that there are other stand users there, but it's still possible that he's from somewhere else. His motivation at this point is totally unknown, and so is why he chose to do this 10 years after Dio's death. As for whether this is a new character or an old one, I can't say for sure. I can't quite think of anyone who would fit here, so I think he's going to be someone completely original, which is definitely what I would prefer. Next month we'll be getting the 5th chapter in Ultra Jump, this time coming with some colored chapter covers as well, just like the first chapter. But outside of that, there's a ton of new JoJo content coming up lately. First, on the same day as this chapter, we saw the release of the JoJo magazine, which features a new Thus Spoke Kishibe Rohan chapter written by Araki titled Hot Summer Martha, and 2 new short stories from different authors. The first is called Rei Infinito, written by Junjo Shindo. It's a story focused on Lisa Lisa, which takes place in the 1970s and has her encounter a stand user. The second is called Iggy the Stray Dog, written by Otsuichi, the author of the novel The Book, Fourth Another Day, which was a sequel to Part 4. This story is focused on the fight between Iggy and Avdol that took place in New York City shortly before Part 3. Both stories have also received new illustrations by Araki. The rest of the magazine is also filled with interviews and JoJo-related articles. In an upcoming video, I'll be going over everything included in the magazine, and in separate videos, I'll be reviewing the new Rohan chapter and 2 short stories. That's not all though, since later this month we're also getting a Netflix Japan event that will feature the Stone Ocean anime. If it'll be an announcement for the next episodes is unknown, but if it is, then I'll be making a video on it. Next month we'll also have some new content with yet another Thus Spoke Shibe Rohan chapter coming to Ultra Jump. This one is titled Drip Painting Style Part 1, making this the first ever 2-parter in the Rohan manga. This will also be the second time recently that 2 JoJo chapters have come out at once in Ultra Jump. Last time was in December when we got both the first chapter of Demonic Heartbreak and the one-shot chapter Fujiko's Bizarre Worldly Wisdom. You can definitely expect I'll be reviewing any of these upcoming chapters. If you want to be updated on new videos or leave suggestions, join the Haman Beat Discord using the link in the description. To receive rewards like Discord perks and some uncut videos, you can support the channel on Patreon. And finally, for future videos, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. This is the part of the video where I thank my $5 and up patrons. Thank you to Tony, the Owl God, Keo, Alex Ramirez, Doorbell, Monkman, Ashton Joseph Miller, Crayon, Jesper Jansen, Rigo Vids, Zukato, Shane Giger, Sentai, Pumpkin Doge, Marrow, Bailey Smile, Ali, Almighty Quarth, Oof, PBA SVG, Cowrie, Jojo Agogo, Toby Nocturne, and Tucker Gold.